The tendency of people believing they have predicted an outcome of an occurrence is called a hindsight, and it affects research and mass communication. My name is Espila Caleb, and I'm going to take you through Introduction to Mass Communication. Well, to you out there, you might be wondering, what is mass communication? So in my next slide, I'm going to take you through the definition of mass communication. So mass communication, remember, it's the coining of two words, mass and communication. Mass is a variety of people. Communication is the process of sending information from a sender through a transmitter to a particular person. So the legit definition of mass communication is the passing of information to the mass audience through a mechanical device that multiplies the message and delivers it simultaneously. Like what I'm delivering to you as a lecture is going through an electronic device, and it has to reach multiple people through a simultaneous process. That is through maybe the internet or through maybe dissemination through the TV and radio. We are going to see the two ways in which mass communication is able to disseminate information. We also need to understand what is communication in my next point. So communication is the passing of information from a sender to a receiver through a channel. Okay? So there's a whole cycle of communication, and there are around 5. I'll explain that as we proceed into our class. So we need also to understand the types of communication. Now that we've known communication, what it is. So you need to understand what is the type of communication. That is my next point. So types of communication include the intrapersonal communication. Intrapersonal communication is where you soliloquy. It is the communication between your mind, yourself and the mind. That is, before you say something, there is something you've interpreted and had a meeting with your mind. Ask yourself questions, have a solution, and then you deliver it right to the person who is hearing. That is interpersonal communication. That's why you've had me say soliloquy. Soliloquy is self-search and self-question. Then there is another one called interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is where you're communicating or passing information between you and another person. That is face-to-face communication. Like if right now I call my student right here, let's say Jane. I call Jane to my office, and I want to communicate to her in regards to maybe her falling GPAs. Her GPAs are falling. So I'm going to have a communication with her. That is, now it's a personalized audience. This is now me and Jane. So I would like to know why her GPAs are dropping. So that is an interpersonal communication. Then there is a group communication. A group communication works well in institutions and lectures. Like right now, if I'm talking to 300 students, that is an institution or a lecture. So this is not personalized. It's not made for a specific person like Jane or Brian or Kevin. This is made for a group of people seated behind, like right now, a majority of you seated there watching me explain. So this is called group communication. Then my next point is now mass communication. Mass communication is divided into two. What I'm now doing right here is divided into two. There is TV and radio. So here is where you can either see me and hear me, that is via TV, or I broadcast via radio. And there is a latest one called podcast, where you record things via WhatsApp and you send. So that is the latest one. So in mass communication, you can either send your views via TV, that is, you're watching me and you're listening to me, and also you can be able to send your views via radio and also podcast. Okay? So on to my next slide, I'm going to explain to you the elements of mass communication. Elements of mass communication are what comprises of mass communication, what forms mass communication. Remember, the elements of matter are Okay, the three forms of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. The elements of matter are atoms, molecules, and there are atoms and molecules. Elements of materials, you find there is sodium, lithium, magnesium, boron, carbon, silicon, argon. Those are elements. They are the elements of materials. But remember, argon is a gas. It can't really be counted and it's inert. So let's go to the elements of mass communication. So we need to know that there are 5 elements of mass communication. So the first element of mass communication is there has to be a large audience. If the information that I'm giving right to you is not personalized, it's for a large podium of people. Okay, it's not personalized to one person, it's for a large crowd of people. So if it's personalized to one person, it's not now mass communication, it is now interpersonal communication. Another component is that it is fairly undifferentiated composition. So the compositions in the things that I'm telling you is going to be fairly undifferentiated because it's not personalized. So I'll not tweak my information to favor a particular person. It will be for all of you. Like right now that you're learning mass communication, it's going to be favoring all of you, not one particular person. If it's one particular person, let me use a funny example. I might start maybe hitting on maybe Jane or whoever. So I'll change my lecture maybe if I'm talking to Jane and now I start hitting on her. So I'll start differentiating the composition. That's now another element of mass communication. Then there is some form of messages, there is some form of message reproduction. In interpersonal communication, there are multiple reproductions of messages, but this one, there is just a specific line in the line of message reproduction. You just reproduce message to suit the people that are listening to you, you see. So another thing is there is rapid distribution and delivery of messages. Rapid distribution and delivery of messages means I have to prepare in advance so that I can be able to produce information in consistency. Okay, so that you can be able to reach out to you as a person. Rapid distribution of and delivery of message. When I'm talking to a person face to face, I'll have to think about what I'm supposed to tell them. I have to consider their feelings. Okay, because I don't know how this person will react towards me. So I'll have to take my time. If I'm talking to Kevin, I have to take my time. Maybe Kevin is hot-tempered. I have to take my time and analyze this person, understand, bring the thing with pace. But if it's mass communication, however it will come out the way it will come out. Then there's low cost to consumers as compared to now maybe calling a person to explain something, maybe how to rearrange a setup, and the person, maybe it's the first time, he's an intern or something. It will take like 2 hours to try to explain to this person. Maybe he has never touched a cable. He doesn't know what is an XLR cable. He doesn't know what is the radiocarbon cable, or radiocarbon of America, the RCA. You see, so explaining to this person, it will take a lot of time. But if it's a mass audience like this podium over here, I'll explain to you that the XLR can be able to be used in this machinery. If I place it in this machine, this is how we are going to do it, and I do it practically, you're going to understand. Okay, so it's low cost to the consumers. And then it has to have a source. The source is me, of course, or maybe a source of distribution. The source is me, or the source is the person who is speaking, maybe Trump, or maybe the president, Nicolas Sarkozy, or maybe, yeah, he's speaking or something. So there has to be a source, and there has to be a source of delivery. Okay? So there has to be also noise, another element of mass communication, noise. Noise, to you, maybe to you guys, you will think of kelele or a lot of disruption. But noise is anything that hinders communication. There are different types of noise. There's semantic, there's physical, there's psychological, but I'll narrow down to 2. There's physical and psychological. Physical noise is maybe a loud bang, or maybe somebody hurts you when you're speaking, or maybe like JFK when he was giving his speech, he got shot. There was some physical noise. His communication was cut because of that shot he was given. So he was shot when he was giving. So that is physical noise. Psychological noise is you come to class. Maybe if I come to class and let me give a practical example. Maybe I broke up with someone. My emotions are going to, you're going to read my emotions, and there's going to be a lot of psychological torture. I'll not give good examples maybe in class. You understand? So those are some of noises. Semantic noise is, it comes in terms of language barrier. We are not being able to understand each other. And then there is channel classification. Channel classification is where there is print and electronics. That is the two different types. So in print, it favors more electronics than print. Print is where newspapers are. Electronics is radio and TV. So it favors electronics more than print. So still on elements, I'll go to the next slide. We must have a receiver. Receivers are now you as the student. You receive this information and you internalize it, interpret, and you change it to fit whatever you want to fit. Then also in elements of communication, there's also a receiver who gets something called feedback. So feedback is two-way. It can be negative or positive. Whatever that, I remember at the end of the lesson, I expect you to ask me questions. So the feedback that you're going to give me can be negative or positive in terms of how you'll understand. That's how I'll know if my lesson was worthy, was understood or not understood. So that is another thing we need to look at. Then there is the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper, there are theories in mass communication. There is the gatekeeping theory, there is the Hub's model, there is the, So gatekeepers are people who edit information. They take out, let's say in a recording, if there is a recording and somebody speaks vulgar language, he takes out information that is not good and replaces it with information that is good. So that's a gatekeeper. Remember, the media is like a mother, and a mother wants the good for the children. So if the mother has a child, he looks at something that is good to give to the child. So the gatekeepers are people who look for good things to give to the children or the audience. Okay? So we've already talked of noise. So we go to our next slide, which is characteristics of mass communication. So the messages are direct and to heterogeneous people. That means it is not specified for one person, it is specified for everybody. It is suitable for everybody and mass audience. So if it's not interpersonal, if it's not speaking to one person, it's not interpersonal, it's now mass communication. So it's for heterogeneous. Heterogeneous means not specified for one particular person. So the message is distributed publicly. Like right now, what I'm giving to you will be distributed publicly through the internet, through you receiving in an audio or something like that. So it is not specified to me calling you to tell you. So the messages are short and fast consumption. Let's say I'm giving a press briefing. It won't take me more than 10 minutes. I'll just tell you this is what is happening, and it will be fast for you to consume. Remember, I'm taking my time to give you the lesson so that you can be able to understand. But if it's a press briefing, 10 minutes are enough. The feedback is indirect or non-existent. It can exist or not exist. Delayed. That means you can ask me a question after maybe 2 days. The feedback can be indirect. That means in terms of maybe you can like, if it's a YouTube, you can like, subscribe, or maybe you can comment down there. That's after even maybe a year, you see people have commented. That's another thing with mass communication. The cost per individual is minimum. It will cost you less to try and understand what I'm trying to tell you, as compared to me if I try to call 100 people trying to explain what is mass communication. The sources belongs to organizations and institutions. Like right now, we are working with institutions so that we can be able to train you online. Okay? And organizations also are doing it online, giving presentations through recordings. speak of trainings in maybe big organizations on how to make money, how to save money. They do it online. And also mass communication is mostly one way. It doesn't require a person to think of various ways on how to deliver information. It is usually one way, just recording or maybe through live training, something like that, so long as there's preparedness. And you know, it's straight to the point, short and straight to the point. The media can be selected, i.e., that is only literate people can be able to read what is there. Illiterate people will have to listen to the radio and for someone to interpret. So as the mass audience, you are able to choose whatever you can use that is suitable for you. You can read or listen to the radio based on your literacy level. So on to my next point. Communication is done by institutions that they are responsive to according to the environment that they operate from. What I mean is, if the people giving a press briefing of COVID-19, they're responding to the environment based on the health sector. Okay? The health sector. So you're responding to the environment based on the health sector. So you're going to package the information to explain more about the health sector. So they need fewer media to reach a vast audience. All you just need is a camera, all you just need is a phone, all you just need is a person who can be able to package your information and disseminate. That's all. Remember, it's radio and TV, so that it can be able to be broadcasted. With all this explained and packaged well in the introduction to mass communication, I'm going to leave you with an assignment which you're going to send via email, of which I'm going to give at the end of the lesson. I'm going to ask you to do this for me. Kindly look at this. Can you call the lecture that you have received in class a form of mass communication? That is the assignment that I'd like you to do for me. Can you call the lecture that you've received today as a form of mass communication? If yes or no, give your answer and explain the reason. So most of you are going to ask where we are going to send the assignment. Well, don't worry. I've given you the email right here. So the email is right here at espilacaleb5@gmail.com. That's where you're going to send your assignments to me, at espilacaleb5@gmail.com. Well, let me elaborate further. I think I liked what people have done. You've been sending questions to me, which I gladly answered. Most of you did not understand what journalism was all about, and I liked the questions that you sent to me. Well, this is where I'm going to grade you, at espilacaleb5@gmail.com. Well, all good things come to an end, and today our class in mass communication has come to an end. We're going to elaborate further on the theories in mass communication in our next class. And all I would like to wish you is a good day. Stay blessed, stay safe. My name is Espila Caleb, a lecturer in broadcast journalism. See you next time.